We may not want to talk about it, but religion has had a mighty influence on the American map. Religious influences have impacted the size, the shape, even the location of some of the states on our map. Some shapes tell stories of groups that fled religious persecution, while others hide scars of violent moral battles. Take Kansas. This state's eastern border with Missouri was once a bloody battleground. In fact, feelings here run so deep that more than 150 years later, the two states reenact their conflict every year.
Football is often compared to warfare, but this game today commemorates a time of actual warfare, a violent, bloody struggle between Missouri and Kansas in the years leading up to the Civil War.
We're at Arrowhead Stadium ready for the MUKU game, the border war.
You're dressed in a very subtle fashion. It's not like anybody can tell what side you're rooting for.
MU fans tend to be a little hateful, a little spiteful, a little vindictive.
No. Missouri fans have class.
We're proud Missourians. We have to hate Kansas. Born and raised.
This is not a friendly rivalry. This is a battle.
It's war. This is war.
Fierce rivalries are nothing new in college sports, but it's a special kind of rivalry that inspires so much passion and so much bitterness that fans on both sides call it a border war.
So what's the deal? Why do Kansas and Missouri fans hate each other so much? 1854. Kansas is just a territory, but it's itching for statehood. Trouble is, it's a really bad time to become a state. The North and South are squaring off over slavery, and Kansas is caught in the crosshairs. Settlers here are faced with a tough decision. Should they vote to allow slavery in their state or not? Suddenly, Kansas is overrun.
People from both sides flooding into the state to try to make the vote go the way they wanted. Paramilitary units fighting each other, lots of blood, and it actually became a kind of a holding war that was taking place prior to the big one that broke out with the Civil War.
Ground zero in this holy war was this border. On one side, Missouri, a slave state. On the other, Kansas, where anti-slavery feelings ran high. This fierce rivalry burns to this day.
This is a game between two states that been fighting since the Civil War.
Kansas was against slavery, and Missouri was a slavery state. Yeah.
They're slavers.
They're slavers, man.
The ruthless border fighting even gave the Kansas team its name.
Some of the Missouri houses that had slaves, some people from Kansas came over and burned those houses, and they were called Jayhawkers.
The Missouri Tigers were actually a unit in Columbia, Missouri, that were just there to defend the town.
They came up and burned over Lawrence. They burned it down to the ground completely, and there's a huge amount of animosity.
It's still bad blood.
Most of us are packing, though, just in case.
So what does all this bitter fighting over slavery have to do with religion? Well, the anti-slavery forces were fueled by a movement back east that was steeped in religion, the abolitionists. Many New Englanders believed slavery was evil, and they felt it was their mission to destroy it. Leading the crusade in Kansas was a radical militant named John Brown. In one raid, his followers hacked 5 pro-slavery settlers to death with broadswords, all in the name of God. History has labeled John Brown a terrorist, but some people in Kansas still call him a folk hero. Religion played a big part, at least for John Brown.
For John Brown, religion was the major reason. He believed that all men were brothers under God, and how could you justify owning your brother? So how can you tolerate slavery? And how can you tolerate the expansion of slavery? You must work against slavery to destroy it. This is where John Brown learned that white men would fight and risk their lives to free black men.
People on both sides of the slavery issue are now killing one another. And Kansas becomes so bloody, it's called Bleeding Kansas. But I thought the Civil War started somewhere else.
Well, you've been misinformed.
Imagine that. John Brown's anti-slavery movement would triumph in Kansas and help give the state its shape. 1861, Kansas joins the Union as a free state. 2 months later, Southern rebels attack Fort Sumter, the official start of the Civil War. Kansas and Missouri continue their border battles, cementing the fierce rivalry that still rages today.
I hate Missouri. You can't exactly run over there with guns anymore, and so we'll take them down on the football field.
The first Kansas-Missouri game was in 1891. At the time, survivors of the border war watched their sons and grandsons battle on the gridiron. So football became forever linked to a holy war that sparked the bigger Civil War and left a battle scar between two states. And that's how religion helped shape Kansas.